My name's David. I'm going to be doing my speech on cell phone addiction and how it's pretty much become a sociological issue. I have three supporting claims that I'd like to use. One, that is cell phone addiction causes psychological harm, which kind of creates this obsession that will creep into other aspects of our lives. Secondly, I'm going to focus a lot of my speech on sleep deprivation and how that kind of harms our society as a whole. I'm going to argue that it can result in greater health issues and a lack of productivity either in school or work. And lastly, I'm going to go further in depth in terms of those physiological effects that can occur as a result of cell phone addiction. Basically, going back to my first point, 22% of phone users and 40% of iPhone users would give up their toothbrush for a week just because they don't want to lose their cell phone. This is obviously a demonstration of this idea that a cell phone is such a huge part of our identity now that it kind of overtakes these basic human functions, which can be unhealthy. It's not difficult to understand why brushing your teeth there are health consequences. Secondly, we have this issue of consumerism. The cell phones cost thousands of dollars a year for a family of four. I mean, you're talking about the payment, you're talking about the upgrades, the accessories, everything. So it kind of leads into this idea of hierarchy of values in society. What do we value cell phone plans more than we value taking our kids out to a movie or something like that? I mean, there's definitely this idea of a hierarchy. Where do we place these cell phones? Are they becoming so entrenched in our identity that we're giving up other things? Thirdly, there's a survey conducted by Secure and Boy which says that 66% of people suffer from what is termed nomophobia, which is the fear of losing a phone. This is an 11% increase year over year. This is something that's becoming even more entrenched in our society. If you look around in the classroom, we see everyone with a cell phone on their desk. So it's definitely one of those things where the attitudes demonstrate the problems. My next point is going to be the sleep deprivation of both children and adults. According to the Sleep Foundation, 72% of 13 and 19-year-olds and 67% of 19 to 27-year-olds are using their phone as they sleep. This is obviously a huge issue. If we're disrupted when we're asleep, either whether that's through an email, a Facebook notification, a text, that's going to cause issues into the next day, which I actually have an example. A few weeks ago, I was up texting someone until about 2 in the morning, and I made an error at work that cost my company $720.13. And would that error have happened either way? Maybe, but I was tired that day because I had been up. Once again, that showed my hierarchy of what was important. And obviously, a cell phone texting all night is not as important as our productivity at work. So that's definitely a big issue there. My third point, which is that cell phone addiction can lead to significant physiological effects. 10% of Americans are being awoken in the middle of the night at least a few times a week, which is going to signal sleep disruption. And that's going to be a huge issue because what happens during our sleep is we have what's called REM sleep. Many of us have heard this term, rapid eye movement. That comprises about 20 to 25% of our total sleep. Harvard professor Dr. Thomas Scammell has proposed that REM sleep is important in both memory consolidation and motor development. So what happens is in a typical night's sleep, you're going through about 4 or 5 periods of REM cycles. This is when your body's really shutting down, kind of recouping from the day, getting ready for the next day. And if that's disrupted, researchers haven't come to a clear conclusion. Obviously, psychology really started taking root in the 1900s or the 1900s. It's something we're still learning about. But Dr. Thomas Scammell has proposed the memory consolidation. There's other neurological issues that researchers have proposed. While we don't understand this issue, that almost makes it more scary because it's something we don't understand. And in a way, cell phones are acting as a catalyst. They're a drug. And if you define a drug as something that we have either a physiological or emotional attachment to, I don't think it's too far-fetched to kind of go into that idea that cell phone addiction causes these issues.
I've never seen an ocelot!
There you go.
One of the arguments that Daniel Braff makes in the Chicago Tribune article is that we have 100 million slot machines operating in people's pockets. People get hit once in a while, but they can't predict what's going to happen. There's this idea of instant gratification. That's a sociological issue. Instant gratification obviously is something that causes more harm usually than good, whether that's drinking a soda, whether that's smoking a cigarette. It's not that much different from being addicted to your cell phone because you're losing track of something that's very important. So as we go forward in the 21st century where cell phones are not going anywhere, they're very useful, we do need them. It's important to understand that while that too much of a good thing can cause problems, and we have to kind of be aware of that, in whether we're in school, whether at work, and understanding where these problems can lie. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, the attention device I thought was a bit dry. Your claim sounds like it's phrased as a question rather than making a specific inference. And the secondary points, they also don't always sound like they're making inferences. I do see that there's an inference there, but I think you need to be more direct in expressing that. There's also a good structure, so the structure part helps quite a bit. Your internal signposts, though, like I said, they need to be phrased as inferences and declarative sentences, and they often aren't. It sounds a lot like it's an informative speech as opposed to an argument. I need to know a little bit more about what's controversial about these issues. I know what's new about it. I know what some of the points that you're trying to make are, but I'm wondering if there's anybody who doubts that, in fact, cell phones can be addictive or that they can be distracting. The argument that you make or any kind of technology for that matter, I think you've got a nice personal example. Of course, it's hard. You yourself are even hesitant to attribute the impact at work to the fact that you had sleep deprivation, and that's the only proof that you have on that particular point, and that the sleep deprivation was a result of your addiction to the phone, having to continue text into the middle of the night. I do wonder a little bit whether or not this is a unique thing to cell phones, or if it is just a typical behavior of people in certain age groups. I don't know how much texting goes on after people get out of I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like old man time, but after people grow up, it's like there's a period of time when you're young that's, oh, your friends are everything, and you're calling them, and you're on the phone with them, and you talk for hours on that sort of thing. And then you get a job, and you have a world to go with, and you're happy to talk to them, and if they call you after 9 o'clock at night, shut up, leave me alone, and you avoid them. So I just don't know which is which that's going on there. The distractions, I think, that you talk about that might be preventing people from being able to sleep, I like that, but there needs to be some data that shows that the deprivation is related to those sorts of things, like their notifications going off suddenly. Did you like the way I timed that one for you, by the way? I thought it was paced pretty effectively. You did a good job citing your sources also. All right, thank you.